Okay, so today I'm going to talk about Resident Evil remakes topic and specifically what's next for Capcom after the very successful Resident Evil 4 remake, which I still haven't completed because summer came and I just don't have the right mood, in hot and bright summer to play horror games, so I will continue my Resident Evil 4 remake journey um, when fall comes. But, I don't really, I don't, I'm not in a hurry to play that game. I just prefer waiting for the right mood to play a horror game, and summer is not time for horror games for me. Anyway, yeah, so let's get back to the topic. So there already has been some rumors talking about the next Resident Evil remake probably being Resident Evil 5, and I hate that. I don't want to see a remake of Resident Evil 5, but it's more the probability to Resident Evil 5 remake is much higher than getting a remake of what gamers really want, what most of the Resident Evil fans really want is Code Veronica remake, me including of course, because Code Veronica is probably my second favorite Resident Evil of the series after the remake of the first game. That I think it's still my favorite to date, but yeah, I haven't really thought about. I haven't listed my top five and thinking what order the Resident Evils would be in my list, but I would say probably Code Veronica is my second favorite. I just love that game. It's much. First of all, it's much longer than most of the Resident Evil games. It's definitely the longest of classic Resident Evil formula games. And the story, while Resident Evil games hasn't never really been great on the stories haven't been that great on any Resident Evil, but I would say Code Veronica, for me at least, is a big exception. Okay, I would say Resident Evil 7 had good story, and 4 kinda moderate, like I would say pretty good story, and maybe Village. But yeah, Resident Evil Code Veronica has definitely the best story in any Resident Evil, in my opinion. And the locations, they are just perfect. A great variation of locations in Code Veronica, which I really love, because I would say most of the Resident Evil games don't have that much variation in locations, but Code Veronica really did that great. And you know, Code Veronica just screams for the remake much more than Resident Evil 5, because let's be honest, I think in my opinion Resident Evil 5, the original, is still quite modern game, quite modern gameplay, and overall it's still much more modern than Resident Evil 4 was. And yeah, I mean, initially I was also quite critical about, do we really need Resident Evil 4 remake? But after we got it, I'm not blaming them. They did a magnificent job on that, and they proved me wrong. But I mean, Resident Evil 5, it's already much more, it was much more action oriented than Resident Evil 4 was. Even though 4 was the first game that, started the more action oriented Resident Evil games. But still 5 it focuses even more on action, and I just don't see the reason for Resident Evil 5 remake. But maybe Capcom is just stupid and they follow the numerical, pattern, like before Resident Evil 2, then came Resident Evil 3, then Resident Evil 4, so it's, it's pretty clear that they would make next Resident Evil 5 and not Code Veronica. But yeah, Code Veronica really needs a remake. I can see how it would benefit from the over-the-shoulder perspective, using the RE engine. That game would be fucking awesome with that new perspective, and using, of course, RE engine. And there would be so much potential for the remake of Code Veronica, much more than Resident Evil 5, but I'm just fearing that the next will be more likely a Resident Evil 5 remake, but who knows. Of course, Capcom haven't really said, well, they haven't really confirmed anything about the next remake, but they haven't at least said that Code Veronica won't get remake. They have mentioned that there is a possibility for every Resident Evil game to have a remake. It really depends on, fans. And, Capcom, listen to fans. If you really mean that you listen to the community and fans what they want, I think it's pretty clear that fans want Resident Evil Code Veronica remake over 5. I mean, there's a very minority of fans that would prefer Resident Evil 5. So I can say behalf of majority of Resident Evil fans, we really want Code Veronica remake. Fucking period. And don't get me even started. Like, if they end up doing Resident Evil 5, instead of Code Veronica, you could pretty much kiss goodbye to Code Veronica getting remake ever, because it really, like, 5 is a newer game, so why the hell would they come back to an older game after Resident Evil 5 remake? It doesn't make any sense. So if they decide, I'm pretty sure if they now decide to go with the Resident Evil 5 remake, yeah, kiss goodbye to Code Veronica then. And don't get me even started with Resident Evil 6. No one fucking asked for a remake of that, because you just can't make a good game out of fucking shit game that it originally was. Like, Resident Evil 6 was a big fucking mistake for Capcom, and you can see that. What happened after 6? Well, we got the whole reboot of the series, back to survival horror, changing a perspective to first person on for Resident Evil 7. You can see what happened after 6. So yeah, that was a big mistake. Like, what the hell were they thinking? Maybe they were just thinking, oh, we are going more and more to the action oriented. Let's make a fucking Hollywood action Resident Evil and call it Resident Evil 6. Fucking Hollywood edition. Yeah, I just hate that game. Like, only the campaign for Leon and Helena is like mediocre, but any other Jake, Chris and Pierce, Jake and Sherry campaigns, they are quite bad. Just to be honest, they are quite bad. Only Leon and Helena had decent, mediocre, I would say decent at best, campaign. And yeah, the Ada campaign was whatever. But yeah, like, we just need Resident Evil Code Veronica remake next. So please, Capcom, be reasonable and do a Code Veronica remake next. Like, fans are screaming for that, majority of. So yeah, do us all the favor and just do Code Veronica and scrap the fucking Resident Evil 5 and 6 remakes. They don't need remakes, because they are not that good games initially after all, unlike Code Veronica. Well, I know there are quite a lot of Resident Evil fans that don't like Code Veronica, but I just don't get it. It's a fucking brilliant game. It has one of the best atmospheres in any Resident Evil. Story is great, like I said. I'm just now repeating myself, but yeah, story is great. At the time, graphics were quite great, quite impressive. Animations, you name it. It has great production values at the time, and really playing it nowadays, it doesn't look that bad, comparing to PlayStation 1 Resident Evil games. yeah, I really fucking pray and hope that the next remake will indeed be called Veronica, because then I would be a very, very happy fan and customer, and I would gladly buy and pay day one to get that game. So yeah, that's about it. That was yeah, that was a quite of a rant, I would say, but yeah, whatever you want to call it, rant or just discussion, talking about it, whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to give my opinion of what I want to see next. So, see you in the next video.